Ladies and gentlemen, you are now entering the Decent Christian Talk podcast. Enjoy.
Decent Christian Talk, episode number 98.
We back.
We are back. It's been a while, but I'm Gabe Jones.
I am Josiah Jones.
This is a show by the fans.
For the fans.
And just like all of you, I'm a fan of great music. And we've got a great show for you today because we have one of the best bands of the last few years on the show today. It's a band called Comrades.
Comrades is interesting. Interesting sound.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, metal, which I love. But at the same time, they're very melodic.
Oh,
and very catchy. And I know if you're not necessarily a fan of metal, that I still think that there's a place for Comrades in your playlist.
Absolutely. And they just released a record this past year, on June 7th to be exact, and it's called For We Are Not Yet, We Are Only Becoming. And it's a fantastic album. It's an album that is on a roster of a lot. I mean, it's on a roster of a lot of great releases this year.
This year has been
It's been stacked.
My goodness.
It's unbelievable to think about the amount of releases. We might talk about that a little bit later.
You texted me and said, hey, start thinking about what you want your album of the year to be. Because
Yeah.
it was
Well,
October.
I said top 10.
Well, and I don't know. My goodness.
Yeah.
My goodness. I was
I
just
don't know either.
looking over that and
I'm stuck.
my goodness, what a year.
Yeah. So before we head into anything, we talked, we just mentioned all these releases. Comrades is currently on a giant tour with Wolves at the Gate headlining.
One of your favorite releases of the year.
Yes. My Epic,
Really?
one of my favorite releases of the year. And Empty.
Okay. That's
That's
one.
4 bands that have had epic releases this year.
And, oh man, what are they coming near?
They're coming to Cleveland next week.
Gosh.
Yeah.
And I know the Devil Wears Prada, Norma Jean, and Gideon are going to be in Pittsburgh this weekend as of recording this. And they all 3 have epic releases this year. What is going on with 29? Is the year? Is the world going to end in 2020?
Year, and it's crazy to think about that show. I would love to go. We'll see if that happens, but if you happen to be in the vicinity of a show, you've got to try to go. They've already hit Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia, Memphis. They are on a leg in Texas and Oklahoma. They will hit Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and they will finish with Ohio and Tennessee. So it's not a very long tour, but it's a stacked tour. Again, it's Wolves at the Gate, My Epic, Empty, and today's guest, Comrades, and that might be the tour of the year, so you might want to check that out.
This is one of those tours where, for example, Empty might be headlining a tour one day.
It's very possible. And if you've not seen Empty live, they're kind of the rookies on this card, and they're probably the first band out of the gate, and they're going to wear you out.
They will bring it. They will bring it heavy, and this is 4 people that could all headline this tour.
Especially with their every single one of their releases is probably close to 5 stars as can be.
Yeah, and everybody's been on that tour. Everyone's gone to that show where you want to see the main event and you just sit there for 3 hours and your back hurt.
Or
and your
maybe
knees
there's
hurt.
like 2 bands, but there's one you don't want to see.
Yeah, and it just wears you out.
Yeah.
And by the time the people you want to see come on, you're tired. And I mean, you're probably going to be tired when the main event comes on, but you're going to be having a blast the whole time on that tour. What a tour.
This is like a fight card that every fight is worth your money.
Indeed.
So Definitely check that out. Before we head into the interview, we need to talk about our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/Decent Christian Talk. Yes, I know it's the end of the year. Yes, I know Christmas is around the corner. But we would still love to have your support for as low as $1 a month. Maybe you have some Christmas money that's on your way. You would love to come and sponsor a show. We would greatly appreciate it. Heading into 2020, we would greatly appreciate that. For as low as $1 a month, you can join our team and help sponsor the show. There's other levels. $5 a month gets you bonus episodes. $10 a month gets you into the Decent Christian Talk exclusive music club. If you like any of these releases by any of these bands, every one of these bands, except Empty, who may be on the show someday, has been on our show. So if you like any of those releases, just let us know, and we will make sure that you get a physical copy delivered to your door. And that's with the exclusive Decent Christian Talk music club. You get physical music, and we get the financial support that we need. It's a good deal. Don't you think?
I do. I agree. 100%.
All right, so setting up this interview, it's with Joe from Comrades, and it took place a few months ago on a tour bus, and it was an air-conditioned tour bus. It was actually after one of their shows. It was a hot summer night, and it was interesting. You know, we interviewed Joe a few years ago, and I actually had not seen Comrades live up until that point. I'd heard them. This was not... When we had them on last time, it wasn't long after their Lone Grey release. And so I had heard them, and I was really digging them. But when I saw them a few hours after we interviewed them for the first time, it hooked me. Like, I was like, okay, I'm bought in with this band. And so it was great to reconnect with Joe and
I believe that
have
first
this
interview was while they were setting up their merch table.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yes, it was. That's where he wanted to do it. So I think
that's fine. They had stuff to do.
Maybe he just didn't want to help with the merch table.
Yeah, that's probably it.
But yeah, without further ado, here is our interview with Comrades.
All right, hit that horn, babe. Let's dance.
We're here with Joe from Comrades, and we're in the van, and this is a nice van and everything. Air conditioning. Some bands don't have air
This
conditioning.
is the first vehicle we've ever had with air conditioning.
Nice. Well, you'll need it this next week or so. But,
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys have a new album. It just came out. It's called For We Are Not Yet, We Are Only Becoming, and just came out this month in June as we're recording
June 7th,
this.
Yeah.
So I know you've said, you know, Laura writes a lot of stuff, but for you as a musician, what have been some moments on this album that you've looked forward to playing live? That I know recording it's a little different animal, but when you were recording, like, what were some things that you were looking forward to playing live?
There's a couple parts that come to mind. Like, one of the parts I thought when we were writing this album was really cool is actually the end of the first song, Fault Lines.
Yeah.
It's a pretty simple kind of tapping melody, but it's such a, like, Laura's vocal, her vocal melody over top of it, it's just kind of a very simple, like, repeated phrase. Like, it's there's room in this house for you.
Yeah.
And that part is just I feel like it's one of the most, like, hopeful things that we've ever written, and I don't know, it's just it's one of those things that, like, you finally get to that point and I'm like, yeah, I'm in the vibe already. It's just the first song, so I really look forward to that. And then there's a part at the end of Cliff Dwelling that we did some cool stuff with, like, a reverse loop and stuff like that, and we'd always wanted to do some of that kind of stuff, but for some reason it never, and we've always done loops and stuff, but doing some of that was kind of fun, just to have the end of a whole song built around it. But it's actually the scariest part of the set to play, because if I mess it up, it's kind of like the song's over. Like, it's kind of, well, okay, we're done. But
yeah, I was gonna ask, so I know you do a lot of loops and stuff on stage, and so when you're making that in the studio, are you thinking about already, like, how am I going to do this live? Am I going to be able to pull this off, or does that come after I've done all that?
Yeah, I actually, so we write, pretty much everything we write is all, it's all,
Got a skateboarder in front of us.
Yeah, he's stoked. Do you know that guy?
I have no idea.
I don't know that guy. I literally don't know that guy.
Oh, well.
But we write everything pretty much all there together as a band. So anything, like I want anything that we do on the album, for the most part, to be the way we do it live. And I think that's one of the things I really think is motorcycles. I think that's a special thing about when you're trying to do a band that's organic and it's you're trying to be really honest about music, is not adding a bunch of stuff, a bunch of fluff to it that you can't do live.
Right.
But we there's the little layers here and there where we might have added like a reverb part or something or whatever, but like for the most part it's all there. And when we record it, like I just play all the parts individually and I don't record it through the loop pedal obviously, but yeah, it's all there.
Yeah. I mean, you guys tour a lot. When do you actually get time to actually practice that? And I mean, because I watched you play that tonight, and that was pretty complicated. It made I know a lot of people probably don't understand, if they don't play guitar, but
I don't.
I mean, but someone like me that plays a little bit, it just kind of makes my brain hurt watching you play that sometimes. But I mean, when you get time to practice that stuff?
Well, honestly, practicing is the hardest part about Comrades, because not only do we tour a bunch, but we're a long distance band. Our drummer lives in Virginia and we live in Colorado. So, a lot of like, we'll practice by ourselves now and then. We try to keep it, play through everything at least once a week or whatever when we're home, just to keep it fresh. But for the most part, we just come together 2 or 3 days before tour and just play all day for 2 days, and that's kind of our practice session. When we're writing an album, we'll just all get together in the same place. Usually, what we'll do is we'll have a couple different, like, we'll come together for a week, write, and then like a month later do that again, or we'll do it at the end or beginning of a tour, before we leave or something, to try to do that. But find time to write is really the hardest part of the long distance thing. But I mean, we all write on our own, so we have we have material to bring as a group, but the songs are all created with the three of us there in the room.
So do you write over like a long period of time, or is that just kind of the album needs to happen soon? We should probably write some songs.
It's kind of both. I'm kind of always playing guitar a little bit. I'll play and just come up with ideas and record them on my phone a lot. And I think Laura's always writing words in the same way, just a little here and there. A couple times a week she'll play something and here's record this on our phone real quick. But it's a combination of that and it's time for an album. Let's actually bang this out and get it done. I think we wrote this album, in terms of it all coming together to being finished songs, it actually was. This is by far the easiest album we've ever written. All three of us were really just kind of in the same place with where we wanted to see it go, and all, we've been doing this long enough, and that we're all pretty flexible with each other, and there's not like weird ego stuff going on or anything. So it was really, this one was really, we were writing for months and months, little bits and pieces here and there by ourselves, but most of the songs all came together in probably a total space of about 3 weeks. It was just over the course of a few months, a week here, a week there kind of thing. And actually, the first song on the album, we wrote, Fault Lines, we wrote that in the studio right before we started tracking, like the day before we started tracking. And we were like, we really need one more song. And we were like, this would really be a good first song. And it's kind of weird that the one we kind of pulled out at the last minute ended up being the first song that we, Well,
I know you've already said you don't write the songs, and Laura's better at answering questions.
Well,
but
lyrically and
even
stuff,
from what she said tonight at the show, if the people listening to the podcast get to see you guys, I feel like what did you say the lines at the end of the song are?
There's room in this house for you.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of is that kind of Laura's
kind
overarching?
Of the vibe,
Yeah, I think this album, obviously I play the songs, so I know some about them. I just thought Laura can go way more in depth than I can about meanings. But there's, this album definitely has some reality about some hard things that we've been through that I think you know, can really, somebody's trying to come with me, man. But,
Should I let her in?
that's fine. I told her to chill. There's definitely some, like, there's some tough stuff that we've been through, you know, as individuals and stuff over the past few years. And writing about that and understanding the pain that happens, but the fact that there can be healing and there can be a future after that stuff. I think that's one of the main themes in the album. It's just that there's, like, you know, a lot of bands, though, they like to focus on, and not this is a negative thing, a lot of bands like to write about either the hardship they're going through currently or write encouraging songs for people. And I think what we tried to do, you know, Laura tried to do with this was say, like, yeah, the hardship is real, but we don't have to stay there. We don't have to, like...
There's a light at
that's,
the end of
yeah,
the
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that is a theme in a lot of these songs. But, you know, like the song Smokescreen Season, like, it's about, you know, a manipulative relationship that some of us went through with a friend, and, like, that's a... You know, that was a really heavy time and a really heavy song, and you know, you kind of sometimes feel like you lose part of yourself to people and stuff like that, and trying to get that stuff back. So Smokescreen Season is like a pretty dark, heavy song, but you know, it's kind of followed by Cliff Dwelling, which is all about the fact that there is hope and there is light.
Right.
You know, yeah, I don't know, I kind of rabbit trailed there.
Yeah,
but.
no, that's true. Well, so you and Laura are married, for those that don't know that.
Yeah.
Husband and wife. So this was like a date night for us. So what's a date night look for you guys? That I know you guys tour a lot, so what's that look like for you guys when you actually get time to do that?
Well, so it's actually been funny. The last, like, I'm going to say 3, maybe 4 years, we've actually been on tour on our anniversary.
Yeah.
And that is kind of an interesting, you know, it's an interesting thing. And, like, you know, we've played a show on the night of our anniversary, a lot of these, but we have to really try to be intentional about setting aside time that is outside of the band van and outside of, you know, what we're doing that day. And I know, like, a couple years ago, we were in Florida on our anniversary. We were just on tour down there, and we dropped our drummer off and took the van and went down and just spent some time hanging out on the beach and got lunch. And it was like, this is like such a normal thing people do, but this is rare for us. And we travel all the time, but just going to the beach and sitting there is like, you know, like, and then, you know, we, last year was pretty fun because we weren't in Europe during our anniversary, but we were there right after it.
Oh, cool.
And so there was a couple times that we were able to just go and eat somewhere, you know, in Europe. And then actually after the tour was over, we had decided, we bought our plane tickets for an extra week in Europe because we were like, well, we're here already for the tour. Yeah. So might as well do a vacation.
When in Rome.
Yeah. So we went on vacation. Well, we called it vacation, but we were like, yeah, we're just going to stay in Europe for a week after the tour and hang out. And this is going to be awesome. Super cool vacation. Well, we ended up going to Kazakhstan to see a friend of ours, which that is not in Europe.
No,
that is
not.
in Central Asia.
Yes.
Pretty far, pretty
That's
obscure
where Borat's
place.
from.
Yeah, exactly. That's they're not super proud of that.
I would imagine so. Yeah.
It was actually a really cool country. But we a good friend of ours from college lives and works there now, and we ended up going there, and so, like, our little family vacation ended up being a backpack trip around Central Asia.
Nice.
Which was just completely wild. You know, we didn't even think we were going to do it before we left for the tour, you know, and so, like, you know, we've gotten to do some really cool things like that, but we just have to be intentional about, you know, a lot of people, their significant other is someone that they can go home to at the end of the day, and it's their rest, it's their, you know, time to recharge. And for us, you know, it's basically like we work together, so we're with each other all the time. Yeah. So we kind of have to try to, like, you know, really be intentional about creating an atmosphere where there can be romance and where there can be, you know, intentional time spent with each other and stuff. But it's definitely been a learning experience. There's not a ton of, like, great examples of how to do this lifestyle as a, you know, both of us married in the band. And one of the hardest parts of it is that, you know, a lot of guys in bands, like, they got a sugar mama back home. You know, it's like that. Like, both of us are in the band, so neither one of us makes money when we're on tour. So that's a whole other thing. But thankfully, neither of us really like nice things. So it's worked out. And
got a nice van at least.
Yo, the bank owns this.
Oh, well,
This is not. Yeah.
Well.
This okay.
borrowing at least.
Here's the thing with the van. This is the only time in our life we've ever had a vehicle less than 20 years old that had air conditioning.
Yeah.
For the first 3 years of the band, we toured in a car. We roughed it so hard, and it's like you see this and you're like, wow, Comrades is killing it. Look at this nice new van. But no, this is the only nice thing we've ever had. But
That's how we felt when we bought our car.
And
after
honestly,
we got married.
honestly, it scares me because I don't trust new cars, man.
Yeah.
I work on cars. I have a 1959 Volvo I drive at home.
Yeah.
It's got nuts and bolts, and if something's wrong, you change
know
the
where-
nuts and bolts,
yeah,
and
you know where
fix
everything
it. And
is.
Here,
Yeah.
it thinks for itself, and it's got it's got a degree in something, and I don't want it to do all that,
It's
I don't want the transmission to have software,
Yeah.
It's but
once they put the computers in, it just threw everything out the window.
But this air conditioner is
It is nice.
dope.
It is nice.
It is dope.
So last question. You talked about how it's different how you guys recharge batteries and how normal people recharge batteries. How do how do you guys recharge batteries?
Well, so we live in Colorado now. Neither Laura or I are from Colorado, so we've lived out there about 4 years, and doing the outdoors type stuff out there, getting out into the wilderness, hiking and biking and stuff. That's really something that, because it's so accessible, because I can be in the Rocky Mountains 15 minutes from my house, that's been something that's really been brought us a lot of peace. And we're out there camping and getting lost in the mountains as much as we can afford to be.
That's something we love about West Virginia.
Oh yeah. There's so much to explore here.
Yeah.
But that's definitely a big part of it. And I don't like sitting around doing nothing. I was a lazy teenager like the best of them, but at this point, I'll struggle with my mental health and stuff if I sit around. So even when I get back from a tour, I might binge The Office for a few hours. And I'm okay, I got to accomplish something now. I gotta go and do something. So we keep ourselves pretty busy, but I record and mix bands when I'm home, and Laura's been working at a coffee shop recently, but she's got her handmade stuff she sells on Etsy and all that, and so we actually keep pretty busy when we're home, and just try to have kind of a normal life. But we I don't know, recharging is interesting because I think the main thing we do is just the outdoor stuff, but we even try to do some of that on tour when we can. We pulled up here today, and we kind of all got out of the van and went different places. John went on a walk around the city, and Laura went to some natural grocers thing. And, I went down and walked down the railroad tracks on the other side of the river. And we were just let's just be alone and do something for a few minutes outside the van. And then we all showed back up here and loaded in. So, you just try to learn to take care of yourself. Some people, there's some people in bands that get out on the road and they, they kind of treat it like a vacation. And there's a lot of beautiful parts to this, but if all you do is, you sit and you play video games in the van, and you go and play a show, and you go and sit back in the van, that's not a very sustainable lifestyle, you know? So it's the more you do, the better, I think, doing this kind of a thing.
Sure. But, well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
I love the new album, and it's
The show was great.
The show was great.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you got to see it. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
That was our interview with Comrades. We'd like to thank Joe for taking the time out of the hot day, and after a busy day, they are actually heading to some festivals not long after that. So they had a long road ahead. Comrades is a band that tours a lot, so they don't get to rest a whole lot. But Joe was definitely kind in letting us talk to him, and we just greatly appreciate that. If you want to hear more about the interview, head over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/Decent Christian Talk. We're going to be talking about the interview. We're also going to be talking about our throwback album of the week, and it is the 20th anniversary of the Love, Liberty, Disco album from the Newsboys. Kind of a curveball in the history of CCM, but we're going to talk about it.
Is this your favorite Newsboys album?
I guess you'll have to listen to the bonus
I
episode.
guess so.
Yeah, so Comrades, we kind of talked about some of the releases from this year. You know, we don't want to get too much into it because we're going to talk a lot about it on our year-end show. But just think about all the hard... I think 2019 has definitely been a benchmark for hard music. It's kind of come back, if you will. I don't know that it went away or anything, but it's just been a really good year from... You've got legendary bands such as Disciple and Demon Hunter putting out great music. You've got, those bands that have been around for a while, like Wolves at the Gate and Comrades, and My Epic putting out good music. Death Therapy, Empty. I mean, the list goes on and on. Norma Jean.
Devil Wears Prada.
Blindside even put out a song.
Yeah. This, I know, oh gosh, when was... See, I forget the names of everything.
Yeah.
And that's just something that I do. But I know my 2019 playlist just hit 100 songs.
Yeah.
And that's with me going through and taking songs out because...
Is Kanye on that list?
Not yet. I have yet to listen to that. But we maybe more on that in future episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Brendan said he wants to be here for that. So whenever we can nail down Brendan
might actually be in our next 2 episodes. We'll see.
Brendan, hit us up.
We'll see about that. But yeah, that is we're going to head off into the sunset because we got a lot more to talk about on our bonus episode. And you can check that out again at patreon.com/Decent Christian Talk. We're going to be talking more about the Comrades interview. We're going to be talking about our throwback album of the week, Love, Liberty, Disco by the Newsboys. And we are also going to be talking about our selections for album of the week. And we've been gone for a month, so it could be anything.
Yeah. We've had circumstances that have prevented. And just before we actually head off into the sunset, shout out to Toby Mac and his family for, if you have not heard, there has been... it's just tragic.
Yeah.
He did lose his son, so
we
I don't want to go too deep into that because that's not any of my business. But I know that that's a hard time for them now.
It would be hard to miss. It's been all over the internet, so it would be hard to miss the situation. So most of you probably know it. We consider Toby family on this show. He has supported us since the beginning. He has given us his blessing so many times, and he's let us know.
He's a fan.
He's a fan.
And he's one of my heroes growing up. So
yeah,
to see him in this situation is, it's heartbreaking. And I know it's heavy as a newer dad. That hit you pretty hard.
I don't even want to. Yeah, I don't want to think about that.
So just love and prayers to Toby Mac and his family. Not to end the episode on a sad note, but sad things happen in this world. So we do have, I will kind of touching upon that. We will have Toddy Funk on an upcoming episode. We're not going to be talking about that situation, but we will be talking about some stuff that he's got going on, and even maybe some stuff that Toby's been working on. But my heart goes out to that family, that community. Send your love, but also respect their privacy.
Please, yeah. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. We could not do the show without you. If you'd like to support us, again, patreon.com/Decent Christian Talk. All your money goes to funding our show. We don't put it in our pockets. We don't line our wallets with it. We promise. We're not Bob Nutting from the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Yuck.
We're on iTunes.
What's iTunes?
We're on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. I got the Google Home device in my home this past weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And I asked it to play the Decent Christian Talk podcast, and it did. So
that was pretty
if
cool.
you've got a Google Home device in your home, all you have to do is say, "Hey Google, play the Decent Christian Talk podcast," and it'll play the most recent episode for you. How about that?
Tell them how you got that.
I have a Spotify premium account, and you can get that with a premium account
for free. So
for free.
Listeners to
it's
this
$50
episode,
value.
I know the listeners to this podcast love music, and there's a good chance that you are a Spotify premium member. It's a free speaker.
Yeah. Just Google how to do it. It's pretty easy.
And pretty soon you'll be able to say, "Hey Google, how do you do that?"
Right. So check that out on there. And we're also on Twitter, DC Talk Act 2, on Instagram, DC Talk Podcast, Facebook. We're going to be having some like year-end polls and stuff. So you want to check out our group page, Decent Christian Talk Podcast, and we have a Decent Christian Talk page too on there. And of course, we got our website, decentchristiantalk.com. If you would rather do a one-time donation instead of the monthly thing, we've got a place where you can donate on there as well. And we post on there every time we have a podcast, so that's a good place to find all our shows. And we have links to our YouTube pages and everything on there. SoundCloud.
Sounds about it.
Yeah, so we will be heading off in the sunset. We will catch you next time.
Don't forget to tip your waiters and waitresses. Thanks.
Don't forget to tip your waiters and waitresses. Thanks.